Welcome to today's webinar, Profiles in Sustainability, Business, Community, and Environment. During today's presentation, attendees will be in a listen-only mode. If during the program you would like to submit a question, please use the chat pod located in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Type your question in the box at the bottom and click Send. And if you have technical difficulties, you may contact the Help Desk at 877-297-2901. And now I'll turn it over to Joy Inouye. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Jamie. As Jamie was saying, my name is Joy Inouye, and I am the Research Associate for the Campbell Institute. Thanks so much for joining me this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are. For those of you who have been to one of our webinars in the past, you know that we often do webinars that are based upon the research that the Campbell Institute does. So this is one of those webinars. This research in particular, one on sustainability, was completed last year. It was released at our NSC Congress and Expo, which was last fall. And so now we just like to bring this information to you in a webinar format, and also encourage you to take a look at the white paper publication. So a little bit about the Campbell Institute and the National Safety Council. The Campbell Institute is considered the Center of Excellence, the EHS Center of Excellence at the National Safety Council. The National Safety Council itself, you can see the mission statement that we have there on the left-hand side of your screen. We've actually changed this recently. It used to be that the National Safety Council works to prevent injuries and incidents on the roads and in the homes and the workplace, and we've actually changed this to eliminating preventable deaths in our lifetime. That's actually our new 2020 vision goal. So you see that reflected in the mission statement. And for the Campbell Institute itself, as the EHS Center of Excellence, we have our own membership of organizations that are considered world-class when it comes to environment, health, and safety. We are very proud of our Campbell Institute membership. I will show you on the next slide here a list of our participants. This slide is always a little bit out of date just because it's hard to keep up with the changing membership at the Institute. We're always adding new members. For instance, last year we added 6 new members. We have now AES, Ingredion, Exelon, DTE Energy, MTA, and ISN that have all been added in the past year. So you can see from the ones that are listed on this slide, we have many different organizations ranging in different sizes, but also across different industries. The thing that they have in common is that they're all excellent when it comes to environment, health, and safety. So this research actually involved the participation of 8 of our Campbell Institute members. You'll see a little bit more about them later on in the presentation, but the contributing organizations to this research were AES, Cummins, FCA Group, ISN, Mosaic, Owens Corning, United Rentals, and USG. So without further ado, let's get into the meat of the presentation here. Why sustainability? For one thing, a lot of the research that the Institute has done over the past 3 years has really been focused on the safety part, the S part of EHS. And something that our research committee at the Institute wanted to do was pursue some other research that explored the other parts of that acronym. So the sustainability and environment certainly encompasses part of that E, part of EHS. And then we also did another study last year that looked at health and well-being. So that was looking at the H part. But sustainability in itself, we're realizing at the Institute and across the National Safety Council in general that sustainability is quickly becoming an investment for companies to increase their long-term viability of their business and also to make it profitable. We have many studies that have shown that companies investing in sustainable practices have actually outperformed the stock market by 25% since 2005. That actually comes from a 2013 study. And you can think that this is probably due in large part to the favorable company reputation, enhanced brand image, for instance, that can follow the adoption of these sustainable practices, particularly among multinational corporations. The Campbell Institute itself, we did a study in 2013 where we looked at the savings through environmental sustainability programs, and Campbell companies themselves reported saving just over $11 billion through sustainability programs, which is money that can get reinvested into the business. And all of this, creates this cause and effect cycle of sustainable practices and good business outcomes. And it really becomes a virtuous cycle, as we see. We also found that in other studies that sustainability actually can stimulate safety in a way. An organization's sustainability efforts can actually build worker trust with an organization. And as some other studies have shown, specifically in the safety literature, that when workers have more trust with an organization, it can actually prompt safer behavior on the job. So you can kind of see, the link that we're trying to make between sustainability and safety, and exists in the literature, and we wanted to try to really flesh it out here with this research. On this next slide here, I have some of these are basically the 5 takeaways that we have from the research, 5 commonalities among Campbell Institute organizations that we found. The first was when they were defining sustainability for their organizations, they almost all of them pretty much had this triple bottom line approach, and that's reflected in the title of the white paper and of this presentation, that triple bottom line being business, community, and environment. When it comes to reporting upon sustainability, all our Campbell Institute organizations used recognized standards for this. Things like the Global Reporting Initiative or the Dow Jones Sustainability Index were common benchmarks that they used to report on sustainability. Another commonality that we found is that our Institute organizations actually expressed a need for more and better metrics to calculate a return on investment for sustainability. They have some, and they are working with those, but the common sentiment was that there needs to be more and better metrics for that ROI. Another commonality that we found, and this is also a kind of a want or desire on the part of the Institute organization, was finding more ways to correlate the environmental part of sustainability with occupational safety. They've tried to do this in various ways, and I'll show some examples of that later in the presentation, but they are still looking for ways to do that. And the last thing that we have here as part of the white paper and the research was asking our Institute organizations about their advice for developing sustainability goals, making them aspirational yet also attainable. So those are kind of the 5 biggest chunks of the white paper and the research that we will go through today. So this next slide here, what I mentioned about the concept of this triple bottom line, all of our Campbell Institute organizations follow this triple bottom line approach of people, planet, profit. That's probably a common way that you've heard that referred to. Those components may be worded slightly differently depending upon the organization. Perhaps you've heard something like social, environmental, and economic. There's also the one that we have here on this slide with community, environment, and business. The overarching theme here is that building a sustainable business means several different things, and it means more than just being green. It means protecting the workforce, giving back to the community, ensuring a world where the business can continue to operate, and also at the same time providing value to customers and shareholders. All the interviewees that I talked to for this research agreed that a business is not sustainable if it injures its workforce, for instance. If if the company's business is dependent upon natural resources, it's not in their interest to use up all of those natural resources. It doesn't protect the viability of the business. It's not sustainable for a company to damage its reputation with potential clients and customers by not being a corporate citizen, a good corporate citizen. So for all of these research participants, we really found that sustainability is a lot more than just being green. Moving on to the next slide here. So another thing that we found with their mission statements of Campbell Institute organizations when it comes to sustainability, all of our Campbell companies are very forward-thinking with their sustainability strategies, and a few of them actually mention tomorrow's world in their definitions and missions of sustainability. So for instance, we have the statement from AES, which is sustainability is delivering results that exceed our stakeholders' expectations today while providing innovative resource management and infrastructure solutions to ensure that we will meet stakeholder needs in the future. By the same token, Owens Corning defines sustainability as meeting the needs of the present without compromising the world we leave to the future. And I think both of these definitions really incorporate the concept of sustainable growth or managing a business, with an eye toward ensuring future business profitability and also the protection of those natural resources. Another thing that we found going forward with kind of the defining and driving of sustainability, we found that developing and implementing sustainability initiatives in our Campbell organizations typically took a lot of internal discussion and involved multiple stakeholding departments. Usually the sustainability efforts began as either a top-down initiative from senior leadership, so that can be, say, internal directives from a CEO or the C-suite, or a response to client or shareholder desire for better policies and transparency. Oftentimes it wasn't either or, it was a combination of these two things. We found that Institute members are very fortunate to be headed by individuals who bring a passion for sustainability with them, or at the very least are open to those ideas from others in the organization who want to see sustainability really take center stage. Also, Institute members recognize that in an era where there are more community members, shareholders, clients, stakeholders, consumers of their products and services, they're all demanding more transparency of the organizations they choose to invest in and patronize. And showing commitment to those sustainable practices and growth is really essential for business success. And that's what our Campbell organizations realized when they were really taking on these initiatives for sustainability. When it comes to the positioning of sustainability within Institute organizations, we found that it really varies, but there are some similarities that we found. And by positioning of sustainability within an organization, I really mean like where is it in, say, in an organizational chart. Because sustainability is a relatively new initiative compared to the organization's safety function, for instance, it's really common to see sustainability positioned as a department that is separate from but on par with the safety department. So kind of what's pictured here on this slide. And both may report up to the same common entity. So that's kind of a common positioning that we've seen for sustainability within Campbell organizations. It's a little bit different at Owens Corning, for instance. They have safety and the chief medical officer both reporting up to an overarching sustainability officer. So in that case, sustainability is the larger umbrella department, if you will, with safety and the health and medical side underneath it. Likewise, at FCA Group, you have sustainability as a larger initiative, with safety being one of those functions. And yet another example I have here is from Cummins. Sustainability at Cummins used to be housed under facilities and operations because it was seen mostly as a manufacturing and supply chain piece. But with the development of their systems and with a stronger focus on sustainability, they've actually moved their sustainability strategy at Cummins from facilities and operations to become its own strategic piece and own part of the puzzle. So these are just some examples of how our Campbell Institute organizations have tried to position and place sustainability within their organizations so they can see the most impact from that. For this next slide here, I get into this idea of reporting and measuring sustainability. And like I mentioned at the beginning, the research participants in the study typically utilize recognized standards for reporting on sustainability, like the Global Reporting Initiative, GRI. A lot of them use GRI guidelines as the baseline for their sustainability reporting, sometimes also going beyond those standards to include other measures that are of particular interest to the company and its stakeholders. Usually when you look at the full reporting for GRI, you see things such as financial performance, corporate governance, environmental performance, labor practices, etc. A few of our companies that were part of the study, Cummins, AES, Owens Corning, and FCA, are actually on the Dow Jones Sustainability Index. And then you also have AES, Owens Corning, and Mosaic, Cummins as well, reporting to CDP, which is formerly known as the Climate Disclosure Project. So in sum, our Campbell Institute participants adhere to these well-known standards to gain recognition for their sustainability work, but also to continually improve their efforts through the benchmarking with others. And when it comes to the DJSI, for instance, Cummins has been listed as a member for the past 10 years, FCA for the past 7, Owens Corning for the past 6, and AES for the past 2. And all of those companies have steadily improved their ranking on the index since they started being listed. Looking also at the annual reports that our Institute members put together. I'm not sure if the slide is advancing. Oh, there we go. In looking at annual reports, all 8 participants of this study routinely issue not only annual reports but also sustainability reports to the public. Owens Corning, for example, has released a sustainability report every year since 2006, following the full GRI reporting guidelines. Other companies, USG puts out a sustainability report every other year. Cummins releases a sustainability report every year as well. So, interesting thing is that you also have some of our Campbell Institute companies that have partnered with either nonprofits or governmental organizations to look at other reports, to pen other reports on sustainability. The example of this comes from United Rentals, actually. They partnered with the Clean Air Campaign and the Environmental Protection Agency to write a white paper on clean construction. In addition to their sustainability report, this was another method for United Rentals to demonstrate their commitment to sustainable practices and to improving industry standards. Going on to the next slide here. So for calculating the value of sustainability, calculating the value for sustainability activities is not necessarily an easy task, as many Institute members will attest to. But they have been able to do so both directly and indirectly. So here is a slide kind of showing some of the direct ways in which they've been able to see a return on investment. So for instance, USG can calculate a return on investment for reducing greenhouse gases by comparing their cap and trade offsets. Cummins also reported that they saved $40 million a year based off of their energy improvements. Another great example that I have here is from United Rentals. They recently took on a retrofit of the lighting in several of their facilities. That had a 1-year ROI. But because the retrofit was so successful, they actually expanded it to more locations. And that was up to a 12-year return on investment at that point. So even though the return on investment period was longer, United Rentals still considered that project valuable, not only because of the energy savings, but also they actually experienced a subsequent boost in safety and employee morale. So I think that's a great example because it shows that even when ROI values tend to be on the high side, the value of engaging in sustainable practices can be detected through these other ways, through improvements in safety and through improvements in morale. Sometimes the value of sustainability can be found in just a really simple gut check. For instance, United Rentals again had this example of placing a solid waste recycling container on site, and the cost of that was the same as having a general refuse dumpster. So it actually just made sense to keep the recycling container to divert solid waste and reduce the amount that was sent to landfill. In all, we've seen that our Campbell Institute organizations in the study have increased the pounds of recycling year over year, and the amount that's diverted from landfills continues to just go up. There's also, so that's kind of a calculated value of return on investment. When we kind of get into the things that are maybe not as readily calculated, you can see that there are some returns for investment here as well. Companies can see returns in the number of shareholders and increasing shareholder value and satisfaction. Cummins has actually experienced business growth because of their compliance with emissions standards. So for them, improving fuel efficiency in their diesel engines was just a win-win-win situation because they're doing right by the environment, they're giving customers what they want, and in the process they are becoming a better company. AES has also seen these qualitative returns for their sustainability efforts. They found that sustainability creates efficiencies, operational improvements that can drive savings into the business. This creates more customer satisfaction, it attracts new partners and investors, and it improves employee morale. Not to mention that any of those savings that they generate through those improvements can be reinvested back into the company. Other Institute members in this study, they also found that they can actually attract and retain talent because of their sustainability measures. This has been the case at Mosaic, where their informal employee recruiting surveys revealed that many candidates are attracted to Mosaic due to the company's sustainability efforts. And at all Institute members in general, demonstrating this commitment to sustainability through community giving and being environmentally responsible has just made them more attractive to potential new employees and potential clients all around. So let's, getting into what I mentioned at the top of the webinar about correlating environmental sustainability with occupational safety. how do we do that? How do our Campbell companies do that? Are they succeeding at it, and what they hope to do in the future? So, like calculating the value of sustainability, that hard return on investment, determining a direct correlation between the environmental sustainability side and the occupational safety side, it's not necessarily a very straightforward task. There really just isn't a consistent and accurate way to establish a connection between, for example, a reduction in waste or energy and a total recordable incident rate. However, our Campbell companies have tried to come up with ways to look at this. For instance, at Cummins, their vision and mission demands that, quote, everything we do leads to a cleaner, healthier, and safer environment, end quote. The CEO at Cummins considers himself the Chief Sustainability Officer and is responsible for all aspects of that bottom line. So when senior leadership at Cummins looks at the non-financial metrics at the company, they review those on a quarterly basis. Those non-financial metrics usually involve things like looking at environment, looking at corporate citizenship, being a great place to work, satisfying critical stakeholders. So they try to take those non-financial aspects into account. Safety is also a component of this review. So it's not a direct way of correlating environmental sustainability with safety, but they're trying to find those connections. Another example for this comes from AES, for instance. AES has a global safety perception survey. They've conducted it in 2 years, in 2009 and 2013, with the majority of their employees and contractors. And both of those safety perception surveys really showed significant improvements in the perception of safety culture. So it's and this has really been since the start of their sustainability efforts. So it's the kind of improvement in safety perception has gone up with their sustainability efforts. This is kind of once again, a very semi-quantitative evaluation approach, but it may be a way to show how improvement in lagging safety metrics can be correlated back to sustainability. At USG, they view safety as a leading indicator for sustainability because it's their concern for the safety of people and the environment that drives many of USG's sustainability initiatives. Once again, not a direct correlation, but these are ways that our Campbell companies are trying to tie environmental sustainability with the occupational safety side. Moving on to the development of sustainability goals. As the slide shows, each organization in the study has their own mix of short and long-term goals for environmental sustainability. These range from yearly targets to broad 10-year visions, as you might imagine. Overall, there is this goal to shrink the environmental footprint of each company by doing things like reducing greenhouse gases, volatile organic compounds, water usage, energy usage, waste to landfill, etc. For instance, we have an example from Cummins. They strive to achieve water neutrality at 15 water-stressed area sites. And USG has a goal to perform life cycle analyses in all their product lines to get a better understanding of how their products impact the environment and the community. You also have some sustainability metrics. All the ones that you see on kind of the left-hand column are things that they want to reduce. The things in the right-hand column are things that they actually want to increase. These are things like recycling or community giving. ISN seeks to increase its charitable giving and employee benefits. United Rentals seeks to increase donations of equipment to local businesses and schools. And Owens Corning, they actually have I think, a really neat term to refer to this. They see it as increasing their handprint, or the net positive effects that they have on the community and the environment. So I thought that was just a really interesting way to refer to the positive effects versus the negative effects, such as in an environmental footprint. When it comes to setting sustainability goals, we asked the participants of the study, for some advice when it comes to that. The advice from Institute members when setting goals is to first perform a gap analysis to see where there is the most need for improvement, and then to use that information to develop appropriate goals and timelines. Additionally, they recommend that companies should revisit sustainability goals every few years to ensure that they are actually still challenging to the organization. Sustainability goals in Institute organizations typically involves the work of a very dedicated team with individuals from different functional areas, so not just all from a sustainability side or all from a safety side. They came from all over the organization. And after conducting materiality assessments, those teams would set goals in areas with the most stakeholder interest, and they would contact experts in departmental areas to determine appropriate yet also ambitious targets. So really, I think a key takeaway here is to involve the work of multiple departments and functions when setting sustainability goals, and also to reassess from time to time whether those goals are appropriate and if anything should be changed or improved upon. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the companies that participated in the study. As the title of the white paper and the presentation suggests, Profiles in Sustainability, we did want to profile the companies that participated in the research. And so part of the research method was not only interviewing the individuals at these organizations that were responsible in some way for the sustainability initiatives, but to also take a look at their most recent annual reports and sustainability reports, and seeing what else they've done to support their sustainability initiatives, and what they release to the public. So for AES is an energy company, and especially for a company that generates and distributes power, sustainability is really also business continuity for AES. They've established business continuity plans at each location. They come with sets of emergency preparedness standards. So these kinds of plans include preparedness for operational emergencies, cyber attacks, for instance, natural disasters, even off-site emergencies that can affect operations or staff. And they have various scenarios defined to maintain an acceptable level of operation while AES restores power to its full capacity. Also, within the communities where they operate, each year AES develops more than 100 community programs with various aims, from improving education and living standards to vocational training and also safety education. So this is how they've this is one way in which they've tried to increase their handprint at a global level. When for Cummins, the other organization on this slide, they have very broad energy goals, very ambitious energy goals. Their energy goal for 2020 is to achieve a 32% energy reduction by 2020 as compared to the year 2010, and also to increase the portion of electricity that's derived from their renewable sources. They also have what they call zero disposal, and they've been able to achieve zero disposal status at 4 sites in 2015. And this means that at these sites, waste is burned only as a last resort, and even then it must create more energy than is needed to maintain that combustion. And their stretch goal is to achieve zero disposal at 30 sites by 2020. Another thing that Cummins does regarding work in the community, every year Cummins employees participate in global competitions to find solutions to local community environmental problems. They've been able to raise money for projects worldwide, and much of this money supports schools, it supports environmental improvements, and it also funds social justice projects. Two more organizations that we have here, FCA Group. FCA Group, as you know, Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, they've achieved significant results when it comes to the environment and also combating climate change. By producing more fuel-efficient vehicles, they've avoided 1.2 million cumulative tons of CO2 emissions since 2010. And when it comes to their commitment to health and safety, FCA Group invested over 290 million euros to safety and working conditions, which is actually equivalent to 2.5% of annual personnel costs. For ISN, from an internal standpoint, the stakeholders at ISN began asking for the same kind of sustainability reporting that ISN usually demands of its clients. They review contractors for their safety. They're a vetting company for contractors. As ISN defines sustainability as becoming that better employer, customer, and neighbor, and they've been making strides in each of those areas since they began their internal sustainability efforts about 4 years ago. So to become a better employer, ISN completed wage studies at all their locations around the world to ensure that employees are compensated with a fair wage. To become a better neighbor, ISN is giving back to their local communities. Each year, ISN donates electronic equipment to local schools and churches in need. They also encourage their employees to volunteer their time in community activities. The latest statistic I have from that is in 2015, ISN employees volunteered over 1,280 hours in schools and other charities. For Mosaic, Mosaic is a company that mines phosphate for fertilizer, and their mission as a company is to help the world grow the food it needs. And as part of that mission, Mosaic is committed to working toward improved global food security and protecting critical water sources. And so in 2008, they started the Mosaic Villages project. It's present in India and Guatemala, and this helps small farmers move out of poverty and achieve greater food security through improved crop productivity. As a result of this project, crop yields have increased dramatically over traditional farming practices. To improve the land and environment in which they operate, Mosaic planted 1.2 million trees in Florida last year, and this was part of an acre-by-acre reclamation for phosphate-mined land. And Mosaic has actually also received recognition for their environmental efforts. They achieved a disclosure score of 100 from CDP in 2015, and they're also one of 113 companies on CDP's Climate A list for climate performance. For Owens Corning, the Owens Corning handprint is demonstrated through their philanthropy efforts. Some examples of this is that in 2014, the company participated and donated to international community programs in India, China, and Mexico. They've also donated insulation and roofing materials to nearly 6,500 families in need in the United States. For United Rentals, they found that they were able to increase product efficiency in their operations. It not only protects workers, but it also increases customer satisfaction. An example of this is that they've increased the number of equipment that contains telematics. And by telematics, that just means this technology that alerts for scheduled maintenance. It tracks fuel consumption. It allows for remote access to run diagnostics. And this telematics technology has actually increased efficiency and safety for workers. The recent statistic I have is that over 8,900 pieces of equipment now have telematics at United Rentals. United Rentals is also committed to diversity in their workplace and improving employee well-being. So in 2014, about 7% of United Rentals suppliers were owned by a minority, woman, or veteran. And about 12.6% of United Rentals' workforce includes veterans, which actually makes them one of the largest employers of veterans in the country. For USG, their dedication to sustaining the environment is really demonstrated through their product manufacturing. In 2013, they developed floor underlayment that's produced using very high recycled content and low embodied energy material. It reduces greenhouse gases by more than 50%. It also reduces water consumption by up to 50%. That's one way they've done it, through product manufacturing. Sustainability also extends to education and building the future world of engineers. Each year, USG mentors interns at their Corporate Innovation Center. And also they have an internship program to attract talent and foster the next generation of engineers. They provide at least 20 scholarships annually to children of USG employees that are looking to prepare for a college degree. So that's the little bit about the profiles of the participating companies. We get into the conclusions here. First thing to say is that sustainability is much more than just being green and protecting environmental resources. It really encompasses the effective management of the business, protection of the workforce, improving employee well-being, developing the next generation of talent, looking towards community welfare, manufacturing products that are of higher quality and are safer to workers and consumers. It's really our Campbell Institute members see EHS as a part of a larger corporate social responsibility perspective, and that's really what sets them apart from the rest of organizations out there. Institute members really lead the way in reporting their sustainability and corporate social responsibility metrics by using things like the GRI guidelines. Several of them, as noted, have been recognized by CDP and the DJSI for their levels of performance and transparency, continuing to be included on lists like those, like the Dow Jones Sustainability Index and CDP, and also to improve their ranking each year. It's a common goal among our Institute organizations in this study. Finding better ways to quantify the amount of return that a company receives for their sustainability efforts remains a challenge among our Institute participants, as noted. If only because those various ways that returns are felt is not readily calculable. But discovering better ways to quantify that ROI of sustainability can help to make the case to C-suites and upper management that sustainability and corporate social responsibility are just solid business practices. Looking ahead here, because we do not think that this research on sustainability is done by any means, we wanted to ask some other questions that could hopefully be a part of future research studies when we look at sustainability. One thing is how can EHS avoid becoming just an operational aspect of sustainability? So in other words, how can EHS professionals be involved in the strategic decisions that are made by those sustainability policymakers and executive management? Another thing is what strategies that are typically used in sustainability activities can be used to improve health and safety in the workplace. Can we start to look towards things like innovative partnerships, environmental and ethical guidelines? How can those also be used to improve health and safety? Also, how can the information and experiences gained through EHS policies be used to develop a sustainability policy not only at the company level but national level and international level? So really, when we're in conclusion here, it seems that the trajectory of sustainability maturity is developing in a great way. As communities develop in their sustainability journey, they begin to see this broadening of the scope of sustainability from being just merely environmental practices to being the sustenance of the business and the communities in which they operate. Hopefully, we'll begin to see through the implementation and reporting of sustainable practices that organizations will move beyond just compliance or doing things just because everybody else is doing it, to actually implementing a sustainability strategy and policy because they're motivated by company values and they're doing right by the people and the planet just because it's the right thing to do. So that's something that we at the Campbell Institute look forward to. We encourage more companies to begin this journey and really look forward to the progress that will be made in sustainability in the years to come. So with that actually concludes the presentation part of the webinar. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take them. I see some of these that are here, and I'll try to address all of them. So there's a question here about providing copies of the slides in PDF. I don't think we typically provide in PDF. We have a recording of the webinar that is always taken through the service, and then we usually post that. But I think I can definitely get you copies of the slides. So if you are interested in that, you can feel free to email me. My email address is on this slide that's shown here. It's joy.inoue@nsc.org, and I can get you copies of this slideshow. So the answer to that is yes. Here's a question here. There are a lot of statistics for companies, but what about government agencies, county, city, state, federal? Are there any statistics from government entities? There are actually not. We don't have government entities as a part of the Campbell Institute. Sometimes we do have partners for the Campbell Institute. For instance, we have one governmental agency, NASA, that is a partner of the Institute. And we have other nonprofits as partners as well. They don't always participate in our study, but NASA did not participate in this one. But that would be one government organization that would probably if they could contribute in the future, probably definitely would. But yes, typically we are limited by the membership, and those are typically corporate organizations, and so we do not have any government examples specifically. So sorry to say that. Perhaps that's a way that the Campbell Institute can grow into the future. There's a question about a copy of the white paper itself. Yes, you can find the copy of the white paper at the URL that's listed on this slide. It's www.thecampbellinstitute.org/research. You can actually find not only this white paper, but all the others that we've produced over the years. So I mentioned also that there was a white paper from last year on employee health and well-being. You can find that on the site as well. We also have a newly revised white paper on Campbell Award winners. So those organizations that have won the Campbell Award for EHS excellence in the past, I think almost 13 years now. You can find that white paper on the site as well. Other questions here. In the currently issued sustainability reports, is safety an element of that report? In what ways? Are there metrics reported, or is it mentioned as more of a byproduct of sustainability? I think that's a great question. So for sustainability reports, safety is, you usually do find safety reported in a sustainability report. They usually have, the ones that I've seen, for instance, they have all your typical lagging indicators that you see. Total recordable incident rate, DART, lost work rate, for instance, fatality rates. And those are typically when we're looking for, say, a company's latest statistics, we'll turn to either their annual report or their sustainability report. They're usually mentioned in both. And is it mentioned as a byproduct of sustainability? It's hard to say. I think it varies from sustainability report to sustainability report. The ways that it's usually presented is that this is, safety is part of sustainability. So obviously we're not going to be a sustainable business if we injure a bunch of our workers. It's hard to know though, and I think this is a challenge that they will also agree with, that what is the real connection between sustainability and safety? Is safety just a part of sustainability? Are they two equal things that are in the same hierarchy? It's not really clear from their reports. But as far as for what they present, it's usually their traditional lagging indicators is what you see. Other things here. Are there other benchmarking tools than the GRI for safety reporting? For safety reporting, I'm not sure if there are other benchmarking tools. I mean, I think sometimes, a lot of times our Campbell Institute organizations will look to things, to traditional like reporting organizations like the Bureau of Labor Statistics to look at those specific safety statistics that are reported by every organization, and kind of seeing like where they fall within the grand scheme of things for the U.S., but also for within their industry or within their specific NAICS code, for instance. That's I guess that would be considered a way to benchmark on safety. That's something that we actually like to offer to our Campbell Institute members, is that opportunity to benchmark not only within their industry, because there are some Campbell Institute members that occupy the same NAICS code, but to also do benchmarking among their peers, so to say, those that are considered the best of the best when it comes to environment, health, and safety. So if you're interested in joining the Campbell Institute, I can surely give you some more information on that. But to really answer your question, I'm not really sure of other benchmarking tools other than the ones that I mentioned in the presentation for sustainability. GRI, DJSI, CDP are usually the ones that you see. And looking for other things. Well, somebody said they're in the process of submitting for the Campbell Award. That is terrific. I should mention also that the Campbell Award, we are currently taking letters of intent. If you intend to apply for the Campbell Award, we'd love to receive your letter of intent. It's not required, of course, to formally apply for the award, but I believe that those letters of intent, the due date for that is sometime coming up in May, or maybe even sooner than that. I think maybe the applications themselves are due in May. Other things that are coming up from the Campbell Institute site, we are also having our annual symposium. I think I should have created a slide for this now that I think about it, but we're having our annual symposium coming up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and that is February 21st and 22nd. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday. And if you're interested in that, you can go to our website, thecampbellinstitute.org/symposium, and you can find the registration for that. We have some really great speaker lineup. We talk about the future of EHS, and you'll get to hear from much better speakers than myself. So you can go to that website and sign yourself up. Another question here, have you seen anything on SASB? Yeah, I think that would actually be, in response to that other person's question of another benchmarking tool. I think SASB, which is what is the total acronym for that? It's the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. Yeah, so they would also be able to offer benchmarking tools, not only when it comes to sustainability, but also to safety. So thank you for that comment. That is a great suggestion. Any other webinars for the future? Yes, we actually have another one that's coming up. I believe it's on March 1st. And that one is on the second white paper that we put out last year on employee health and well-being. So you can actually find the event registration for that webinar also on our website. I believe the full URL is thecampbellinstitute.org/events/webinars. But of course, you can. The website itself is pretty easy to navigate, so you should be able to find it without any issue. But that is the next one that is coming up. So if you're interested in that, please do sign up. Looking forward to seeing many of you there. All right, so that's all the questions that I have here. I think I answered all of them, and we're almost at the top of the hour. So with that, I'll just thank everybody for joining me this morning or afternoon, and have a safe day, and hope to see you at another Campbell Institute event in the future. Have a great day, everyone.
And thank you for joining us for this webinar. We appreciate your attention and participation in today's event. Thank you again for attending the webinar, and have a great day.